right, 3:03 on a Thursday, April 15th. We are live for some training, or we're not live, Leandro. If someone's watching it later, we are taped, right? It's a both and world we live in. So welcome. Today is the day we actually start our new book. I know these things are kind of hard to find, at least the new editions, Leandro. I had to go 4 and 3 to get you guys books. Yeah, like Kimmy doesn't have her book yet. And it's not Kimmy's fault. She just wasn't here. It was like we had 4 people here, so they're the ones who got it. But anyway, has anybody else gotten this book yet? Let's start there. Okay, good. Have we done any reading? Good. Okay. So I actually prepared today. I think I don't have notes or anything, but kind of my mental schedule today, I think will help those who have gotten the book and read it. And I also know that it'll help those who haven't gotten it yet, because really, I think I want to just kind of chum the waters. And for those of you who started reading, I couldn't stop. So I know, which is kind of cool. Like the last book we did, I'd read before. So I would read along with each week, right? So it was fresh. This, I couldn't stop. So now I'm rereading what we're going over, right? So I'm actually reading the book twice, which I'm happy to do, Leandro. Very happy to do. I really like this book. Go ahead, Dana.
Sorry to interrupt. I just found it on Audible. So I downloaded it onto Audible, but it is hard to find on Amazon.
It's not on Amazon. You got to type in the book. And then I got the last 3 data I got from, some obscure bookstore site. So yeah, I would do a more general search. Had I known this, you all, I probably would have steered away from this, or at least planned something different. But I think today, because I figured that, right? I knew that it was hard to find it. So I figured today we can the first 2 chapters are not the 9 things, right? The first thing is chapter 3. And so the first 2 chapters are really short. The first one's, I think, only 8 pages. And the second one, not even that much more. But then that third chapter is rich. And I think I'm on chapter, anyway, I'm way down the book. So today,
Matt, before we start,
yes, ma'am.
I bought mine. It said used, but it was completely new. And I only paid $6 for it. So if you're willing to do that, and I got it in a few days.
There's a lot more used copies than new copies, Beatrice. You're right about that. That I did recognize. I'm not a used copy buyer, but that doesn't mean, buy used copies. There's a lot of things I do that you don't want to do, right? You don't want to be like me. It's fun, but it ain't easy, right, Leandro? All right. So anybody else, and listen, interrupt me, okay? You guys, if you've got something to say, raise your hand. Interrupt me if you need to. This is not about me needing to be heard. This is really about us getting what we need out of this book. And what I need out of this book may be different than what GB or Val needs and Leandro. So, I like the collective. I think now, Leandro, we've got kind of a system, and we certainly have some regulars here. And I want it to be more interactive now. Like, I think the last one was an older book that I was really familiar with. I've taught on it before. So I think that format was appropriate, but this is a new book for me. So I want to grow just like you guys grow. And if all y'all hear is what I read out of it, then I'm the only one who's going to grow. Or I'm not going to grow as much as I can. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't be the only one. That's saying it wrong. So let's talk. I'm going to just do a quick dissertation on the premise of the first chapter. And for those of you who've read the book, you'll have a different inference from what I'm saying than those of you who haven't, but I think it'll be applicable to both. The first book is really about him explaining that he was having deja vu moments. And when I first read that, I thought of the Matrix, Leandro. Like, they just keep resetting the Matrix on him, right? That's why he sees the black cat twice, right? It's like a deja vu, like, whoa. But that's not what he's talking about. He's not really talking about events, and he's not really talking about the people. He's talking about the way people respond to things. And you guys know, we've talked a lot about this, oh man, I'm such a geek, man. I really am. I got chills right now because I'm so excited about how this guy helped. So my ADD's kicking in, so I'm going to jump out for a minute. So I'm in the throes of writing a book and gathering information and putting things down. And I think I've told you guys, there's a lot of times where I have, like, in my mind, I can think the thought, Leandro, like, it's crystal clear to me, and I can react on it. I can implement it. But then when I try to tell somebody, like, there's a gap between, and like, there's a gap between me being able to think it. And it's almost like I can hear myself singing really beautifully, but it doesn't come out beautifully. And that's exactly the way the ideas are. Like in my head, they're beautiful. They're well formed. They're like, I rely on them, but and sometimes the time is short. Sometimes the time is long, where I have a hard time expressing it and really articulating it in a manner that, because again, I told you, it's less about me being heard and more about what you hear. So I'm very thoughtful about how I convey ideas. And I've had several ideas in the recent past where I've told, like Alberto, my pastor in Nicaragua, here's what I'm thinking, but I can't train on it yet. Like I want to share it with you, Alberto, because you're my close friend, but I don't know. I'm not ready to share it to the group yet, because now they'll listen to me. I can certainly spend the time, right? But unless I feel comfortable that what I'm saying can be assimilated, I don't like to. So one of the things that I love most about Dr. Cloud, and I'm a providential guy, I think things happen for a reason, is that he is really helping me articulate some concepts that I've had, some for a very long time, Leandro, and some for a really short time. But that's why I couldn't put it down. I was like, oh, this he's talking about things that I'm thinking, and he's putting it in simple text. And now I'm seeing the relationship between thinking it and conveying it, right? And yeah, right. And so when he talked about deja vu people, I've talked to you guys so much about how the power of association. Hang out with people and wait till you get into chapter 3, Leandro. Oh my gosh. Oh, I might even jump ahead just in this one spot because it's so good. All right, so he's talking about, like I've talked about association, how powerful that is. That if you associate with negative people, you're going to be negative. If you associate, if you want to drink and bowl, like if Leandro came in and says, you know what, Pitts, I really want to drink and I really want to bowl. The first thing I would do would say, hey, get around some drinkers and bowlers, right? You hang around them long enough, you're going to assimilate. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. We have very strong personalities who are agents of change and go and do it. But I mean, you can bet on it that whom you associate with is going to have an impact in the quality of life that we have. And so years ago, I read this thing from a book in a book, and it said, to seek wisdom, part of that component is seeking counsel. And part of if you got to seek counsel with someone, you got to associate with somebody. And so I really made it a point, Leandro, to associate with men that had, as I described it at the time, that had what I wanted. That's why Billy Fink and I are such great friends. He's a family man, a business owner. He was serving at church. He was my type of guy. And Billy is still my best friend in the world right now. I mean, nobody wants for me more than him. He's a great guy. And I love associating with him because he makes me feel good about me. He does. He just loves me, and I love him. So as he's talking about deja vu people, that's what he calls them, his deja vu people. It resonated with me because I think I've told you guys 100 times, if I've said it once, that there are laws and principles that govern our world. Whether you're spiritual or not, doesn't matter. This is outside of that. I mean, it's part of it if you are, but there are principles and laws. There are ways to handle situations that will kind of like blackjack, right? If the dealer's got 6 and you got 13, you got to stay because the dealer's got to take one. So you're going to lose some of those hands, but you're going to win a lot of them. The odds are well in your favor. And I've told you that I notice commonalities in these people. And the commonalities that I notice are exactly what Dr. Cloud describes. It's not commonalities in their background. It's not commonalities in their skin color. It's not commonalities in their wealth or lack thereof. It's not commonality of having children or not, or being married or not. Certainly within those, there are commonalities, but at a 30,000 foot level, I myself have talked ad nauseum about how I see certain things in successful people that are very consistent. And I also see things in people that are very unsuccessful, a lot of commonalities. And let's define success first. I always say, for those of you who have been around me enough, it's the best version of us. And that leaves the individual nature of it. So understand, as we walk through this book, I'm not expecting you to see what I see. I'm not expecting you to be motivated by what I'm motivated by. I'm expecting this book, if you have an open mind, to speak directly to your individual circumstance. And he goes through this and he talks about the individual nature and how different his deja vu people are in his life. And I agree with that. So I remember thinking, I told a story some time ago about a story I read about two boys. One was both from the hood. You guys heard this, both from the hood. One was really successful. One was in prison. And they grew up in the same neighborhood. They were the same age. They were friends. And they went to the guy in prison. They said, why are you in prison? Like, what happened? What went wrong? And he said, man, my parents were drug addicts. My home was broken. I was abused. We were severely impoverished. And then they went to the guy who was very successful. And they said, why? How did you break out of that? And he goes, man, my parents were drug addicts. My home was broken. I was abused. We were poor. Like, instead of using those circumstances as an excuse, he used it as a reason. And Dr. Cloud does a great job of talking about that. Like, I always talk about either we're trained how to do something or we're trained how not to do it. And you guys have heard some of my story growing up. I was trained how not to be a parent, honestly. I grew up in a household of alcoholics, and every morning and night it was just yelling and verbal abuse. And my mother got beat up every now and again. It was just horrible. And then my father got remarried, and he lived a peaceful life. And he told me once, he said, and I'm going to share this with all you, it's probably one of the most greatest pieces of advice my dad ever gave me. He said, a peaceful home is not by accident. It's by design. You have to want to change your circumstance. You have to want to break the cycle. You have to want to be better. And the reason I get so excited, Leandro, and every time we get done, Leandro's like, where's that energy come from? Because I'm a 49-year-old male, and it's 3:00 our time. Like, it's when the brain fog starts. And the reason is because I believe, and I love this about my Nicaraguan group too. It's like, if people are willing to sacrifice time for an opportunity to grow and develop, man, I'm there. I'm there, either as a recipient or as a giver. Preferably in this one, it'll be both. And it should always be both. But anyway, I digress. So there are common things that I have seen in my successful friends that are all very congruent, very similar. And they're all, Dr. Cloud does such a great job about talking about how they're from different backgrounds. He says, I have some deja vu friends that are very wealthy. I have some deja vu friends that are not wealthy at all. I describe, like I said, success as being the best we can be. I want to read you his description. And it is, they reached their goals and found what they were looking for in life. The second definition, I mean simply that these people were getting from life what they had decided they wanted. That's all success is. And that opens the door for our individual nature. There's no blanket policy. There are blanket rules and things that govern and principles, but there's no I don't like MLMs where it's all about money and this and that. It's like, I told a good friend of mine I had breakfast with today, he asked me business advice all the time. He's a great little businessman. He wants to grow it, and he's a mechanic. And
hi, everyone.
Is somebody trying to chime in? Okay. Golly, my 80 squirrel. You
were talking about a meeting with your friend.
Oh man. Anyway, we'll keep moving on. Again, so this is a small group, so I'm going to go ahead and expose myself. So 3 days ago, I cut out caffeine, wheat, dairy, and Diet Cokes. So wheat isn't beer, which is one of my favorite things. Diet Cokes are one of my favorite things. And literally, when I was a kid and I was thirsty, I pour a glass of whole milk. That's how much I love it. That's sad. I'm like a toddler ordering breakfast. Yeah, can I get a large milk too? So my body is reacting. So if I act a little off today, I'm bloated. I'm emotional. So anyway, I don't remember what no, I don't. No, I tried.
Let me bring you back.
No. I know I was eating with my buddy Andy. He's a good businessman. I remember all that. That's the hard part. I literally, and I just got on, man, I'm really exposing myself today. But I say we need to be transparent, right? So I also just got on testosterone, which it might have been estrogen. Like, my breasts are swelled. I'm emotional. I'm sorry. Oh man, I'm so sorry, guys. It's just me, man. All right, so I want to ask. This is
Everyone is laughing.
Oh gosh, I couldn't even believe I did that. You got to cut that out, Leandro. Like, to watch live for this part. So let me ask you. I want to talk about both sides, right? We talked about the consistencies and people that we know that have found success in their life. And that success is they're either, they're on their way and getting, and that's honestly, let me back up. There is no, we have out of life what we want. There's no landing area this side of heaven. And if you're not a person of faith, this side of death, there's no landing area. There's a beautiful TED talk that we've talked about the guy going to Harvard. Once I get to Harvard, like once I get that job, once I make six figures, once I, and the problem is that when we do that, it's not, in fact, it's not only not bad, it's great to dream, but when we project ourselves in the future, call it success or call it failure, whatever we're going to experience, do you know that there's almost no, in fact, there is no way to project ourselves as we are that day, dealing with that success or failure. So when we project ourselves as we are today, and we make the cynical, I shouldn't say cynical, I should say naive assumption that we're not going to change one lick, that when, more likely if, that moment does come to fruition, that we're thinking about it in the paradigm that we have today. We're not, so, oh my gosh, I can go on. This book is fantastic. Okay, so I want this to be the interactive part. So let's start with successful people. Think of a trait that you see, and success could be a great father, a great husband. I'm not talking about money. I mean, if that's your thing, that's fine. I am talking about money, but it doesn't have to be that. But someone who, like when somebody asks me, how I'm doing, I don't always say, but pretty much all the time I say, living the dream. And it's not a platitude. It's my perspective. It literally is my perspective. That just means that I have a proper perspective on life with a bunch of problems. Right? So I want to hear, like, some of you are successful in your own right. What is a trait you have that maybe you saw in someone else? And I got GB ready to go too. Go ahead, GB, light us up.
Well, you said success isn't about money all the time, and you're right. Growing up, I grew up poor. I know what it was like to live on food stamps, get donations from churches, clothing, whatever. So growing up, it was tough. My parents were divorced. My father was epileptic, and my parents were divorced. Long story short, growing up, you always want to give your kids the things that you never had. So I guess for growing up poor, the one thing that my mother could give me is values and teach me respect. And I'm not going to be honest with you, I was never good at school. Didn't go to college. I went to school. I mean, I always had a philosophy: if you didn't go to high school high, you didn't go to high school. But that was just me. But growing up, I mean, my mom had taught me values. She wasn't big on teaching me about school and education and better myself from that point of view, I guess, because I was a rebel growing up. My teen years, I was a rebel. I mean, I love my mother. I mean, she taught me how to be a gentleman and treat everybody with respect. I mean, even I can make a stranger my best friend. That's just me. And I love her for that. But as far as success goes, I want to give my kids the things that I never had. And that was the encouragement that they can do in school, and how if they push themselves and just apply themselves, and how well they can do in school. Because I never had that from my mom.
Yeah. And
my kids are both a reflection of me and my wife. And they are both true honor students. Both, even in junior high, both of them received the number 1 and number 2 top awards of the school. Out of 30 different awards, they got the top awards, which is great. My daughter's getting ready to graduate this year at the top of her class. She's been in AP college classes since junior year. I have a deal with her actually, and I'm losing. I told her before she even entered high school that if she goes into high school and she gets a grade point average of 4.0 every single quarter of every single year, I will buy you a brand new car when you graduate. Guess who's losing?
I got to go to Wisconsin to help GB sell some CBD.
Yeah, and she has been accepted into a college that she wanted to go to. She got accepted into the Milwaukee Lutheran, which is great. We're really proud of her. She's got tons of scholarships from a lot of different places. I mean, what she's put into her community, and just a reflection of what my mama showed me, I was able to give to my kids, not clothes, not T-shirts, not Nikes and Adidas and all that other stuff, but I gave them values and taught them well, so that, the things that my mom really never taught me that I wish I would have had with her. She taught me love, and she taught me, unconditional situations, but as far as bettering myself in education and stuff like that, it wasn't so much. So when it comes to success that way, I think I'm tapping myself and my wife on the shoulders for that. So I just wanted to kind of share that.
Yeah, that's good. And so you did both. And I think we all do both, right? Like my household wasn't totally crummy. I learned some things from for sure. But so you had both, right? There was that, respect for people and love for people that your mom showed you. But then you also recognize what you miss. And that part of your brain's like, I want to break that cycle. And
Absolutely.
Dude, that's it. I mean, and wait till we start talking about gravity. And we might today. That's in the second chapter. He does a fantastic job of leveraging gravity as an analogy to what I would say struggles or failure. Right.
Yeah. And just to add to that, though, my daughter, who's so smart, could be a doctor if she wanted to, but her choice, she wants to be a teacher. So that's even more of a reflection of wow, that's just who she is. She loves children. She loves to teach, and the more power to her. So it's just like, kind of makes me proud.
Yeah, you should be. You should be a proud man. Thank you for sharing that, dude. Thank you. All right. What else? What's another trait? I know you're thinking, Leandro, you need to participate as well. You're admin and you're participant. You don't have to do it right now, but I need you to talk about it.
Results.
Getting results.
Yes.
We talked about,
I'll go next.
Okay. We talked, I think I touched a little bit on the levels of leadership, and production leader is the third level, which is amazing. And the beauty of results, Leandro, like you said, the reason that's so powerful is because you can't fake them. Facts are stubborn things. Results are facts, and those are stubborn things. And when you find and get around somebody who can produce results, who do you think the greatest production leader is that I know? That I know personally. You know her too.
Yes.
Her.
Oh, Stacy.
Stacy. Stacy is a production leader. She gets results. And she's a lot of other things, but she's definitely that. And the neat thing about getting results and being a production leader, the thing that's so attractive is that people that want those same results are really attracted to it. And so that's good. Thank you, Leandro. Appreciate that. All right, Beatrice. Yes,
well, first, congratulations. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good. Congratulations. An amazing job. I think one of the greatest successes of all is to raise healthy children. So with that being said, I grew up on a farm. Yeah, that's a great, great accomplishment. I grew up on a farm in Mississippi in the 50s. And the thing that I learned, we didn't have a lot, but I learned from my father hard work. He worked so hard. I mean, he had a job, he worked the farm, and he just worked. And he taught us that value of hard work. And he also taught us the value of caring about people. I would watch how he and my mom would help other people. We didn't have a lot, but they would help the people who had less than us. So I think for me, success, and I mentioned this before, it's finding your passion in life, what you've been called for, and then setting up a process to reach that. For me, being a Christian, I look to God for why did you create me? Everything I've gone through, the depression, the anxiety, everything. What purpose do I have in life right now? How can you use my life to help someone else? And I think once we do that, that's real success. Now, I've been in corporate and we've made six figures and we've done all of that, and I was depressed and miserable. So it's not money, it's not the house, it's not the car. It's finding peace within yourself and being able to share that with others. So not only we can be better people, but we can make others better.
Amen. That's a good word. And the secular word would be like, that's the faith word. And I certainly resonate with that. The secular thing would be, you got to get other people what they want before we get what we want. It's the same thing, right? The blessing really, and this is my philosophy. You can take it or leave it. I won't be emotional either way. But I believe, and I think I told this story where I was doing a tithing series at our church. And one of the things that John Maxwell says when he delivers hard information, he goes, "My name's John, and I'm your friend." And so we were at a big old church, and I'm, doing a week's, where it was actually a month. Every Sunday, I'm doing a training on tithing, and then on the 5th week, I did the sermon about tithing. And so I started off on the first one. Well, my name's Matthew. I'm a member, and I'm your friend. So I wanted them to know I wasn't paid staff. I was just a dude. And people were even in the hallway. "Hey, Matthew, you're my friend." People that I didn't even know. So it really resonated. And I said all that because I knew that I was going to say this. In the sermon, I said, my name's Matthew. I'm a member and I'm your friend. Hear my heart on this. If you're sitting out there and you have a gift and you're not using it, that gift, for the betterment of yourself, but more so for the betterment of others, my prayer is that God take that gift from you and give it to somebody who will use it. And I mean that with all my heart. It sounds negative. It's not. I can only come from a Christian standpoint. And to me, the blessing is not for us. It's to flow through us into even a singer, right? I mean, they're blessed with a voice, but how many times have we been moved by a song that stirs us emotionally? That's the blessing, right? The most talented people, a speaker that can engage us and cause us to act on our emotions. I mean, that's a blessing that he or she are blessing somebody. So thank you for that, Beatrice. I don't know anybody who's really successful. I do know some guys that as I got older, they worked a lot less at their job, but they were always working in something, whether it be ministry, whether it be family, spending a lot more, whatever, working at something. And now I know, Beatrice, why I love you so much. One of the reasons, you know how much I love a farmer. A farmer is my favorite person in the world. I mean, they exemplify these principles that we talk about. Working hard in faith. He even talks about results being important, but results not governing our emotion and our attitude. It can certainly govern our data concept and how we act, but emotions and attitude are very different. And that's what a farmer does. Farmer's got to plant seed. He or she doesn't know what the weather's going to be. It's all on faith. And every time when you bring up a farmer, what do you think? Hard work. Anytime I think of a farm, I'm thinking, man, there's a lot of work going on while they're waiting to see the results of just a sprout of their labor, right? Wow. Great stuff, Beatrice. Thank you so much. I loved it. More of you and less of me, I think is better, honestly. Anybody else? I can think of a few things, but I want to, I'm not trying to cajole anyone, but I don't want to step in front of anyone. So if anybody's got okay, hey, Val.
I kind of had a hard growing up. My dad was military and we moved around a lot, but he taught me the value of being persistent and just keeping after things. And he would not give you an excuse. It didn't matter how rough things were. You had to pick yourself up and go back and try again. Failure just wasn't an option. It wasn't a word we ever were allowed to use.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. He talks about, and I think, especially with time just flies when you're having fun, right? I can't believe it's already been 35 minutes. He talks a little bit about that, Val, and I think I made it, I mentioned it earlier that he draws in the second chapter, he draws an analogy to gravity. So I'm going to kind of paraphrase, but I want to find the page just in case. Some people are very aware of the laws of gravity and use them to their advantage. They design things like airplanes and rockets and ships and satellites. They study gravity and other laws of physics and use them. Oh man, this is good stuff. To accomplish great things. So to those who are flying, gravity is not hidden at all. To the contrary, it's embraced, it's loved, it's obeyed. Failure is not an option in the long run, but it's a requirement in the short run. You're not going to grow without failing. So one of the things that I know about the people that I know are successful, and praise God, it's the way I think, I don't see failure as an obstacle. I see it as a requisite. I don't fear failing. People around here, how many times do I try stuff that doesn't work? Not too much, Leandra, but I do. But we do. That's who I am. I try new things. I don't know until I know. And if somebody could teach me how to find the line without actually crossing it, I'd love to know. But I don't know. That's why I've torn an ACL, an Achilles, a rotator cuff. I've broken bones. It's all because I was on the edge and I didn't know where the line was. But the people that I know that are successful, they know problems are coming. I've talked about this. When people go, why? When a problem comes, if you find yourself asking yourself why, stop that thought process, capture it, take dominion over it. It's not why not? We all have problems. If you're not in one, you're getting out of one and you're going into one. And it's all three happening at the same time. So instead of looking at gravity So he makes the analogy, it's like the guy who drinks 10 martinis and walks out of the bar and he falls down, then he's like cursing the ground and cursing gravity. But conversely, you have people that are studying gravity and how to overcome it. And that's the rockets and the ships and the satellites and the great things. If we study, it doesn't even have to be failure, it can just be struggles, right? Lack of comfort. Honestly, that's probably there's a couple big ones that I have. That's probably one of them. In fact, I remember, I'm gonna try to make this a short story, but one of my friends who makes literally hundreds of millions of dollars, I office with him for a little bit. And he was walking by and I had glass windows or a glass wall by the hallway that he had to walk to get to his office. And I think I did something like that. And so he peeked in, which was very rare. We were very focused guys. And even though he was a very good friend, I never even ate lunch with him there in 6 months, because when we're there, we're working. And he goes, "Hey, what's going on?" And I go, "The website, this and that." And he goes, "Do you want to sit in my chair and deal with my problems?" And I said, "Heck no. I'm trying to develop myself to handle my own problems, because as we grow and as this business grew, it wasn't that problems went away. More money doesn't mean less problems. It means different problems." And so I told him, I said, "I'm trying to develop myself to deal with my own problems. I'm not nearly developed enough to deal with yours." And I meant that with all my heart. That guy had problems that he could deal with that would overwhelm me at that stage of my life. And still right now, I'm not there yet. I'm not yet prepared to deal with $100 million problems, right? So it is, so that the second thing that I know that I see in every successful person that I know, and I mean from parenting to making money to athletics, everything, is I spent the better part of my life when I learned that the brain is 33% more effective in a state of calm as opposed into a state of stress. So with my faith, growing up and maturing, I don't know that I ever articulated it, but I innately have always sought to be calm in times of turmoil. And I always think of the Chicken Littles, right? The sky is falling, the sky is falling. That same friend that I mentioned, Larry, gave me so much great advice. He's one of my guys that I really attribute a lot of our success to him and the advice that he gave me and the association that I had with him. And he said, "Pitts, it's not enough to be calm when the storm is going, and I mean the waves are high. I mean it's bad. It doesn't matter how bad it is. Being calm is not good enough. That's when we get to work. Because when everybody else is running around with their head chopped off, freaking out, we're not only calm, but we're taking steps forward. So those are the times, oh my gosh, those are the times that we get an edge. Most of the great wealth, if you guys are any kind of history buffs, most of the great wealth in this country was in wartime, in pandemic times. Look at Bezos, look at Elon. They're, wealthy people's wealth expanded exponentially through this crisis. Why is that? That is a principle. We can't be, in a book it says, conform not to the world. We can't be sheep like everybody else, because if we are, we're going to get what everybody else gets. There's a reason there's a 95%, 5% rule. There's a reason there's the other 1%. They're not, the purpose of this book is for us to understand that yes, there's silver spoon, take out the outliers, but deja vu people that are getting out of life what they want to get come from all walks, all backgrounds. Are you kidding me? There's no similarity to geography, to race, color, creed. Certainly there's tendencies in the data might suggest that there's more of one than the other, but it's a melting pot. And that to me is so encouraging, because it goes back to the original thing I said, that almost anything in us we can develop. Remember I told you John Maxwell said that he developed his creativity, and that blew my mind. I thought either we were born with creativity or we weren't. And I would admit that some people are born more creative than others, but I will not admit that if we want to be creative, we can't develop that in ourselves. And that's what I love about this. It's not about the people, it's about how they respond. And how many times have we talked about, it's like, I do this action. Do I enjoy the result that it produces? Right? I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Do I enjoy the fact that I can't breathe? That I struggle to walk to the park, through the parking lot? So it's really about inspecting the activities and putting less expectation on the results. I'm not saying don't expect greatness of ourselves. You know me, I'm an encourager, but it's hard to have this conversation. This is going to be a tough book to train, Leandro, because my only perspective is my perspective. You know what I mean? And it's not everybody's perspective, considering faith and the way I think. There's a book in a book. The guy's name's James, one of my favorite books in a book. And there's a little story in there where these two merchants who have been very successful tell how they're going to go into town and they're going to sell their wares and they're going to do it for a year and they're going to make a bunch of money and they're going to give to the ministry. And they had all these plans. And James stopped him and he goes, you know what? Tomorrow's not even promised. It's okay to have a vision, but respect the process. It's like Vatris's dad, you know, he plants everything and then all of a sudden there's 10 days of rain. Well, he's got to adjust. He's got to make, you know, you can't, does that make sense? Yes. So you got to stay in the moment. And that's the third thing that I wanted to say. The people I know that are very successful, and I do a fairly good job of it, I think, is I really abide by the 3-foot rule. And that's a rock climbing saying. When you're climbing a rock, you have to look and know where you're going. But as soon as you get your vision, you better go back to the rock. And you can only affect 3 feet around you. So there's no reason to think outside of that 3 feet. Because if I if I go for a handhold here, but I'm projecting myself up there, what happens here? I fail. And then there is no tomorrow, depending on how high on the rock I am. Right? If it's my first one, it's like, oh, that kind of hurt. But if I'm way up there, then tomorrow's not there. So I think we all know that. Like, I believe everyone on here, doesn't matter our background, socioeconomical, all would agree that we could walk outside of our door, car or house or apartment, and get hit by a truck today. So why don't we live like that? I will tell you that people that I know that are very successful, and when I say success in this genre, it's peace. They have peace in life. They're not wired up and responding to everything. They have a peace, and that is by design. They weren't born peaceful. Every baby I've ever seen come out of the womb is crying. Doesn't have peace. It's by design. And you don't have to have my faith, but you got to find something that you can believe in. Something bigger than yourself. Otherwise, I don't know how you do this, right? I don't know how we accomplish this. All right, any comments, errors, omissions, additions, cares, concerns while I dampen the palate?
No, but we got two new viewers.
Oh, cool. We got some newbies?
And Urvashi.
Hey, listen, this wasn't what I was going to say earlier, but I was with that dude this morning, Andy, my buddy, and he's asking me how to grow, right? And so I give him some really practical, and the third thing I go, you reading? And he goes, oh, what do you mean? And I go, Andy, I don't know somebody in my life that has achieved success, what they're looking for, without reading. I go, it doesn't have to be a self-help book. You just need to read. So I saw there's this guy. Oh my gosh. There's this guy. He is the only man in the world who has been through all 4 military branch special training. He's a Ranger, he's a SEAL, he's an Air Force Ranger, and whatever. But he's went through all 4. He now runs ultra marathons, 100, 120 mile marathons. He's regarded, and you guys can check this guy out. He's on Goldcast, an amazing, probably 14-minute speech about how he went to some town and was one of 3 African-American families, and the abuse he took and the fear he had growing up. And it's a fascinating story. And he said, when you work hard, you get calluses on your hands, right? When you're working hard, and that allows you to work even harder because it creates a barrier, right? You don't feel the pain. He said, I wanted to build calluses on my mind. Whoa. He said, I did that by approaching head on every fear I had. Had a fear of water. Didn't know how to swim. He's a Navy SEAL. Fear is like gravity. It exists. Struggles, challenges, bad news, horrible times. It's like gravity. It's going to happen. It's a part of our growth. And if we stop doing that, no, I don't want to fail. If we stop that and start embracing gravity, right? Like, let's measure it. Let's study it. Let's get in it. so that we can learn how to overcome it. Because, anyway, I just love his analogy to gravity. Let me kind of work through this where we at. Oh, Leandra, we're doing pretty good.
Yes, we are.
I have some notes here. And again, the first 2 chapters are not the 9 things. So I think when we get to the first thing, it's a much longer chapter, but it's still a kind of a simple concept. But man, some of the ways he explains, I just really like this. This is the first book I've ever read from Dr. Cloud. I got a funny story for you. So I didn't know that these things were hard to reach, hard to get, because I went onto Amazon and I found the book in a hard copy for like $3.99 or $6.99. I was like, no way. So I ordered it. If you guys want to look on Google, Dr. Cloud has a book. It looks exactly the same coloring, same 9, same everything, except it's you simply must do to be a leader. So I've got like 8 books, hardback, that is a Cloud thing. So I'm not saying we're going to do that next, although that would be good for me, right? At least I wouldn't waste the money. But I'm still going to give those to you. Okay, so anyway. All right, hold on. I just want to read a few excerpts. And if you guys have something, oh my gosh, this is what I got here. This was my favorite part. All right, in fact, you might have had certain forces work against you that kept you unaware of these principles. So if you recognize any of these forces. So what he's saying is that there are rules and principles that govern our world in our life. And he makes the analogy that if he drops a piece of paper and it doesn't fall exactly to the ground, that means there's other forces involved, like wind, right? So it's almost like a blackjack table. What he's saying is, if these principles don't work, it's because there's other forces involved, all right? So that there are exceptions to the rule. So it's kind of like if the dealer has 16 and you got 13, you always stay. You're gonna lose some hands, but you're gonna win more of them, a lot more. So that's what he's saying. So what he's illustrating here is these might be reasons why we don't see these principles. Like we all know gravity exists. Why don't we acknowledge it? That's what he's saying. And these are some of the reasons. He's got 1, 2, 4, 6, 7. I starred 5. So these would be reasons that maybe we don't see or acknowledge gravity or struggles or these principles, right? And that is, one of them is a background or history of close association and identification with people who are not finding success in love or life. Association. Are you hanging out with people that are not succeeding? Are you hanging out with people that are not winning? I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm saying that the more you hang out with them, the more that's going to rub off on us, right? All right, I'll leave it at that. This one, I mean, they're all good, but this is another one. Oh, Vatris, you'll love this one. Religious teaching that focused so much on guilt, shame, and good and bad that there was not enough room to learn wisdom and love. Oh, man. I'm telling you. So I told you guys I heard this coach, Jim Rome, who's a sportscast journalist. During the tournament, the NCAA tournament, he interviews all these school coaches that, are in obscure schools that you'd never hear of. And these coaches are amazing. I mean, they're obviously achieving a great deal of success. And one of the coaches' motto is nerd up. Nerd up. And he goes, what do you mean by that? And he goes, nerd up. He goes, if you like something, do it. Don't worry about what other people think of you. Nerd up. Be yourself. Be whoever you are. Don't be embarrassed of anything of who you are. Nerd up. If you like, bunny rabbits and you're a 400-pound, burly man, nerd up and pet a bunny rabbit. You know what that makes me think of is Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Oh, has anybody ever read Of Mice and Men? Yeah, Dana, right? Lenny. Oh, I love the rabbits. He killed the rabbit. Didn't mean to. He got in a lot of trouble for that too. All right. The next one is hitting a ceiling on reaching goals or failing to realize your goals and potential so much that you came to think that success was just for others. I worked in a company where I can't tell you how many people said, hey, I had to associate with these people to recognize that I was eligible for that success. Like they would articulate that they didn't think that they were eligible. Like they didn't think that they deserved it. And it makes sense. The biggest thing that I have ever achieved or thought I achieved was when I think it was 6 years I was in an organization. I did a lot of public speaking, and you would be traumatized if you learned how many people that I talked to and was able to work with that stopped dreaming. They were in a stage of not dreaming anymore. And it's sad, but it's also rewarding when you get them to start believing through their own actions, not through a fire-breathing sermon, not through any written thing. It's motivating them to take action, and then activity breeds what? Activity and confidence. So the activity would build their confidence. And it makes sense too, because what's typically the first word that a baby understands? No.
No.
The first thing you tell them when they're no. And how many people, I mean, I don't know about y'all, but you read these stories about like Clint Eastwood, Michael Jordan. You know, Clint Eastwood was told he was too ugly to be in movies. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. And he was told he wasn't good enough to play. So you see what I'm saying? So there's reasons that people stop dreaming, and that's the sad part. So that's the thing, man. Keep dreaming. Believing that things are possible if you just try harder and get more committed, leading to repeated instances of trying again, but expecting different results. I know people that are on a hamster wheel, man. They keep doing the same thing, and they keep getting frustrated and pissed off and upset and angry that they're not achieving a different result. So like I said, there are commonalities that are very, very consistent when it comes to successful people. And there are commonalities that are very, very consistent when it comes to people that are not finding success and they're struggling through this world, this life. And then
That's the definition of insanity, Matthew.
Yeah, right. Continuing to do the same thing, expecting different results. That's why they're so pissed off. They're going insane, Leandro. Put her in a rubber room. Seeing that following the ways called for change, and change is something frightening. How many people do you guys know are scared of change? Go ahead and raise your hand, because at some point or another, we're all a little intimidated by it. But like I said, faith, and I could talk about faith in just trying to get a dream, right? It doesn't need to be God. I'm talking about faith, like hope to achieve, is not the absence of fear. Achieving and faith is fear walking. Wow. It's fear walking. Everybody who walks and does things that you think you couldn't do is fear walking. They weren't born with an absence of fear. They didn't read a book and go, oh, fear's gone. It's gravity. They know it exists. They carry things around to deal with that. And the last concept that I'm going to get into, as a psychologist and a doctor, he said he got into it, but the things in this book have nothing to do with his curriculum. He doesn't decry his curriculum. It's not like, oh, I just got it and then I learned. Their goal is to help people who are really hurting to become healthy again. This book is not only that, but it's about the healthy living life right. And that's where he feels like his profession misses it. Not because they're not thoughtful, but because they're so focused on the clinical part of getting someone healthy again and peeling back layers and dealing with things to become happy. This is not that. It's a little bit different. And I just thought of a thing, if I can find it real quick. Success is not about them, their unique talents or skills. It's about the principles of life and wisdom that transcend any of our abilities or lack thereof. Oh man, this is good. It goes back to that book, Talent is Never Enough. John Maxwell, same kind of principle. Hold on, I got one word to get here. And, big word. And if you do not allow failure, past experience, or naivete to blind you to learning how successful people do it, you can do it too. So if nothing else, let this session be a message of hope that no matter where you are not bound by anything that can keep you from finding success and love in life. And again, my definition of success is being the best you or me that we can be. Or if I'm in around people of faith, like Vetra said, I want to be, everything that God created me to be. I want to please him. I want him to, say, well done, good and faithful servant. But his definition is just as appropriate. And that is that people are getting out of life what they want. And we always are always going to want, but I know.
Hey, Matthew.
Yes, GB.
On the inside of that cover, does it say dedicated to Glenn Brown?
It does.
It does, because I feel like everything in that, what you talked about today, is like really what I'm going through that transition
Yeah.
of being, a new road. Like you said in the beginning of the meeting, you're on a road to success, and that's the thing. I mean, there's two roads. There's a long road and the short road. You take the short road, you're going to miss a lot of detail. You're going to miss a lot of that book. So the long road, and I've taken the long road, and I'm almost at the end. I mean, I see that light. There is no end. You're right. Just keep going. Yeah, exactly. The path always leads to another journey. Absolutely, you're right. But for me, it's just like what you said. Everything really for what you said today really is what I'm going through. Like it changes. Like you talk, even like you talked about earlier that you gave up certain things for your health. And I did the same thing 2 weeks ago. I cut my sugar intake because I never realized.
Well, hey, I if that's true, which I believe it is, I appreciate, your gentle demeanor today.
Yeah.
And used to be a little ornery. Cut sugar.
Let me tell you, my body, I love my sugar. I love sweets. I quit smoking 10 years ago, and I think I developed the addiction for food. That's why I gained like 150 pounds, literally. But I've just been reading and listening to another gentleman speak about a lot of sugar. My mother passed away from diabetes. So, I'm going to be turning 50 in a couple months. So I think it's not a midlife crisis, but life really hits you in the head, and like what's really important in life. So my health is one of those things. So my sugar intake, I cut like literally in half. I haven't had a cup of coffee in 2 weeks. I love my peach tea. I haven't had that in 2 weeks, which is great. But yeah, you're a little ornery, but that comes to fear. Yeah. What is my biggest fear? I don't call it a diet. I call it a life change. Because if I call it a diet, I'll fail. I know it right away. Yep. And it's just about willpower, mind over matter. But the fear, that word fear, what do I fear about this challenge? Yep. My biggest fear is the snacking, is the temptations. What's gonna stop me? What's gonna drive me to not say, I want that piece of cheesecake, I want that cookie, I want that cake, pie, whatever.
3 foot rule, Glenn.
3 foot rule. Actually, mine's a 6 foot rule. Stay back. I know my 3 foot. I know my hands are reaching for it.
Yeah. If and when that moment comes, then deal with it. And then now you want to get 3 feet away from that, so you can't reach.
And I have, and actually, the last couple of days, my body is really feeling like. I think I'm starting to finally feel the effects, because those first 2 weeks are tough. I'm not going to lie to anybody in a challenge of any type of addiction that you're overcoming or whatever. Yep. It's all about steps, and we got to take one day at a time. So,
amen. Good stuff,
absolutely.
Dude.
Just want to share that.
Thank you, GB. Always appreciate it. Hey, appreciate all you guys. We're up on it. It's 4:00. I love this book. It does have a real kind of it's even citing some. I'm not going to use you, but I had a friend of mine that told me about a story where he's sharing his faith, just talking about how he feels about something. And the lady with whom he was sharing his faith got upset, like angry, like, how dare you, this and that, and this and that. I told him 3 things, but I'll share the one with you. The one thing I think we're missing in this world right now, more so than any, is competing voices. Being able to sit down and explain their perspective, their thought process, the history, whatever, and then having someone on the other side of the podium explain their differences in their own individual faith, whatever. The fact that everyone gets, and here, this is where we will not conform to the world. As for us in our house, we shall embrace other people's faith and thought process and sensitivities, and learn about them, not in the way that it differs from ours, but in a way that I can glean an understanding on their perspective. And our society is missing that, and it's scary, because I believe the greatest society comes from what results from these competing voices. So yes, this does have some scripture in it, but I'm going to tell everyone, if there's someone who has a problem with it, I'm sorry, but I believe that we should be around competing voices. I hope it doesn't offend someone. If it does, I can't control what I can't control. And that would be the 4th thing and the last thing. Guys and gals that I know are very successful, don't worry about crap they can't control. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of mental energy. And I know we're all shaking our head, but how many times do we do that? How many times do we do that? I just had something devastating happen to my mother by the most immoral, repugnant people that I could ever think in my life to do what they did to my mother. And can I tell you, being angry with them, although I had that moment, I'm a human being, I quickly recognized that that's not going to help my mom. In fact, it's only going to hurt me to carry around bitterness. So yes, do I have the right to be mad and hate and be angry? Absolutely. If you guys knew what happened, you would be sending postcards to my mother. But that doesn't solve anything for me. I can't control those people. I can't control anyone else. And so when we started to want to control the other person, a staff, a friend, a spouse, a family member, we want to change them and change the way they think. That's a recipe for failure, because we can't control other people. We can only control ourselves. So I hope this helps. This is some rich stuff, man. I'm gonna be growing through this. I hope you guys invite people. I hope we at least encourage. I know we've got at least my staff. I know if you haven't read in a long time and they're reading again. So I think I told you I was giving my son $100 to read the Carnegie book that we just read, plus an opportunity to earn another 50 through having engaging conversations about what he took from it. And that's how important I think reading is. So I hope more people do it. Not for me. I don't have any relationship with the publisher. I just know that it will help you. All right. Thank you so much, you guys. I love you. I love that you guys want to grow and you're sacrificing time to get better. I will always be there to do that with you as long as I am physically able. I think I too, Glenn Brown, am turning 50 in a few months. So hence the testosterone. I hope that kicks in before the brain fog gets too heavy.